Hey guys, it's Genelyn and welcome back to my channel. If you clicked on this video, you're likely going through a deployment, preparing for a deployment, or you're just curious on how Lucas and I have been handling our first deployment. Based on what's been working for us, I'll be sharing a military survival guide consisting of 10 ways on how to cope while your partner is away. Before I get started, I wanted to start off by thanking all of the servicemen and women watching this video. And I also want to go ahead and thank all of the military family members, friends, partners, and allies. Whether it's your husband or wife, your boyfriend or girlfriend, whoever in your life is deploying, I just want to say thank you for your service. Also, just a quick disclaimer before I dive into the 10 tips that I'm going to be sharing. These are just tips that I have personally used or am currently using for our deployment. Each and every deployment is different, and each and every relationship is different as well. Everyone just copes differently. So this video is just about my personal experience, and this is all just based on what's been working for Lucas and I. And if you're going through a deployment or you have gone through a deployment yourself, please feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear about your experiences, and any tips that you can provide me, I will happily accept. So starting off, tip number 1 is to grow through the deployment. So you can either go through a deployment or grow through a deployment. I know it sounds cliche, but this was a quote that I was told during Lucas's send-off ceremony back in June, and I've just really been holding on to it. In my personal opinion, the first step to surviving a deployment is to go ahead and accept the deployment. It's out of your control on whether it's going to be happening or not, so the best thing that you can do for your mental state is to just accept that the deployment is happening. Once you do that, it is going to be way easier for you to conquer that growth mindset. It's extremely easy to get caught up in all of the emotions that a deployment can bring, and trust me, I know that deployments are going to bring up all the emotion. For me, I struggled with feeling paused in the very beginning. At first, I felt like I had to wait to do anything fun, or I had to wait to make any big life changes until Lucas were to return home. And let me say that having those thoughts and those emotions, especially in the beginning, are 100% okay. It's extremely valid to feel loss and sadness, and truthfully, those emotions are probably gonna come up multiple times throughout the entire deployment. But wallowing in it isn't healthy. And it's also going to make the days go by much slower. Once I realized that I could maximize the time that we were going to spend away from each other, that was when I really started to develop a more growth mindset. And from that, I was also able to develop healthier coping strategies in order to combat that mindset of feeling paused. This tip is also applicable to your military partner. Lucas shared with me that focusing on ways to help him grow during the deployment also made the days go by a lot faster. Whether it's focusing on your health, your diet, exercise, whatever it may be, focusing on those things throughout the deployment and how you can grow together and individually will make the days go by a lot faster. Tip number 2 is to allow yourself to feel all of the emotions. You and your partner are going to feel almost every emotion there is. And these emotions are going to differ from the beginning, the middle, and the end. You may start out like me and you could start off feeling sad and you could feel lost. You may have moments of feeling lonely. That's definitely going to happen throughout the deployment. But you're also going to have moments where you feel acceptance and pride in your partner and happiness and excitement for the future. You may start to feel these positive emotions and these negative emotions, and then you may restart the cycle all over again. Everyone's cycle looks different. Every cycle may look different day to day, but regardless, emotions will come up. But the important part is to let yourself feel whatever emotion that you're meant to be feeling, and feeling them in a healthy way. Suppressing these emotions will only bottle things up just to explode later. Instead, go ahead and allow yourself the time to feel whatever emotion you're feeling. Let yourself feel the sadness. Let yourself feel the anticipation, the worry, the concern. Letting those negative feelings out is just as important as highlighting the positive emotions. Allow yourself to feel either emotion when you need to, so that way it'll be easier for you to pick yourself up throughout the deployment. Tip number 3 is going to be to set goals for yourself, whether they're daily, weekly, or monthly. Setting goals is the best way to stay motivated. Keeping yourself busy with these goals will also make the days feel like they're going a lot faster than they really are. So I wanted to provide some tangible examples that you can go ahead and implement into your deployment experience, but your goals are personal to yourself, and so go ahead and create any goals that you find are best for you. So some examples for some goals that you could set for yourself could be to pick up a new hobby or start a new project. For example, during Lucas's deployment, I went ahead and allowed myself 6 months to just embrace my passion for photography. During those 6 months, I also invested more time in my blog, in my YouTube channel. I even tried kickboxing, and I've been also focusing a ton of my time on the project that is planning our wedding this summer. Whatever hobby or project that you want to pursue, just make sure it's one that you'll enjoy. Another example for some goals that you could set for yourself during a deployment are career and school goals. Maybe you want to take a leap at a job that improves your quality of life, or maybe you want to pursue a 3.5 GPA in school, or maybe you want to go back to school for your bachelor's or your master's degree. And the last example of a goal that I'd like to share in this video are fitness and health goals. Your mind will have a way easier time feeling healthy if your body is physically feeling healthy too. Finding a workout routine that works best for you, or signing up for a sustainable gym membership, are also great ways to relieve some of the stress and anxiety that you're going to feel during the deployment in a very positive and productive way. The time to invest in those areas of improvement in your life is now. Tip number 4 is to find your community. Feeling alone will happen from time to time during the deployment. I mean, your partner is physically away, and depending on where he or she deploys to, you may also be experiencing different time zones, and that can make communication even more complicated than it already is. I've learned to cope with these moments of feeling lonely by leaning on my family, my friends, my coworkers, and even my cat, Sherbert. He's a great support system. So as much as you want to sit around and sulk at home, binge watching all of the YouTube videos, make plans with your community instead. Surround yourself with a supportive circle of loved ones who are ready to take your mind off of the deployment. Your community could consist of your mom, your dad, your brother, your coworker, your friend. It could also even be other military members or communities that can relate to what you're going through. Tip number 5 is to establish realistic expectations for communication. I feel as if this tip is important for every relationship, regardless if you're military or not, but this is something that is highlighted even more for long distance relationships. I mentioned this briefly in the last tip, but you know, your partner may very well be in a different time zone, let alone just a different schedule than what you're on. Lucas and I literally greet each other good morning, regardless if it's nighttime or daytime. Being on different schedules or time zones can be really tricky to navigate, especially at first, but I'm here to reassure you that it is not impossible. We always greet each other either right before bed or right when we wake up. So that way, if it's morning for me, it's evening for him, and when it's evening for him, it's morning for me. Make sure to set expectations for reasonable times of the day to expect to hear from your loved one. Whether it's a phone call, a FaceTime, a text, maybe even just a letter. We personally found that morning and evening work best for us. That way we're still able to finish our day and work and do all the things that we need to do, but we can still check back with each other either at night or in the morning. Sometimes things come up, of course, and you're unable to message or call your loved one at the time that they expect you to. It's life, it's gonna happen, but go ahead and try your best to let your partner know in advance, just so they're not left worrying about where you are and why you haven't replied. Figuring out those times that work best will really allow you to worry less and alleviate more of that stress. Remember, this also isn't just a long distance relationship. Unfortunately, your partner is likely going to be in hostile territory. Even if some bases are safer than others, war will always be an underlying concern in any deployment, but worrying all the time will only make the days go by much slower and will probably cause extreme stress. It's completely normal to worry about your partner. I mean, you care about them, you love them, of course you're gonna worry. But I've personally found that creating that routine of when to check in with each other can really ease the anxiety and fear that can come from a deployment. Tip number 6 is to focus on encouraging your partner. Of course, this needs to go both ways, but you as a civilian will need to support your military loved one in a different way. Remember that your military partner is the one deployed overseas, thousands of miles away from home, living in a culture that he or she is not used to experiencing back home. Your partner will have moments of feeling homesickness, and they may lean on you to help them through those moments. It's also extremely healthy to expect them to support you during your moments of sadness too. Remember to celebrate their wins like you would want them to celebrate your own. Celebrate all the little wins rather than focusing and complaining about the trivial things or just the deployment itself. Maybe your partner got promoted. Whatever it is, just make sure to celebrate together. Try your best to live like tomorrow isn't promised, and focus more on the good by just shaking off the small stuff. Tip number 7 is to mail packages and letters. This may seem old-fashioned to some of you, but even if you're able to FaceTime, call, or text, sending letters and care packages can be an extremely special way to communicate during a deployment. Sending items from home for your partner to enjoy overseas can provide them a sense of normalcy and a taste of home that a text message just can't provide. Send them funny cards, some funny letters, maybe some pictures of happy memories, or maybe send them a small gift or two. I'm actually thinking about creating a separate video about care package ideas, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here. I'll make sure to include the link in the description bar below once I post that. Tip number 8 is to let yourself travel. This one may not be entirely applicable to everyone, but to others like me, let yourself travel. Traveling to a new place lets you look forward to something and can also keep your mind off of the worries of a deployment. I discovered that letting yourself experience a new routine in a new place was a great way to help me take my mind off of Lucas's absence. You can really feel someone's absence when you're going through a routine that they used to be regularly a part of. So traveling can allow you to take that break from your normal routine. Tip number 9 is to make countdowns. I found that countdowns can be so helpful. Countdowns can benefit people in different ways, whether you're counting down months, days, weeks, whatever it may be. Go ahead and determine what encourages you. You can either use a planner, a calendar, an app on your phone. Whatever method you choose to count down the days, it'll only make the days feel that much faster. And lastly is tip number 10, and that is to prioritize your self-care. You won't be able to take care of your partner or others until you take care of yourself first. With your partner away, you're going to have a lot of free time. Spend some of it being sad, channel into tip number 2 and let yourself feel whatever emotion you're feeling. But make sure to spend more of that time doing things that bring you joy. Make sure to eat healthy, exercise, create a daily routine. Just find ways to invest in yourself. Focus on your personal growth instead and work to be the best partner you can be during the deployment and for when your partner returns home. And there you have it. Those are my 10 tips on how to cope while your partner is away during his or her military deployment. As I mentioned, these tips are completely based on Lucas's and my personal experiences going through his first deployment. He's been serving in the Army Reserves for 6 years now, and he just renewed his contract for another 6 years. Please let me know if you've gone through a deployment yourself, if you will be, or are currently experiencing one. I'd love to hear about other coping strategies that you guys have found helpful and that have worked for you. Ideally, I'd like to find a sense of military community through this video so we can grow through this deployment together. Deployments are challenging, but us partners back home should be so proud of our military loved ones. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I have a ton of lifestyle content ideas for 2020. Some are military related too, including that video I mentioned earlier about care package ideas, but I also have some travel content and some wedding planning in store for you guys too. But until then, I will talk to you guys soon.